Good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Lori DePreet Brown, and I'm the director of the UW-Madison campus-wide 4W initiative. 4Ws stand for Women and Wellbeing in Wisconsin and the World. Thank you so much for participating in our 2021 conference entitled Resistance and Reimagination, Gender Change in the Arts. This is co-convened with UW System Women's and Gender Studies Consortium. The director, Dr. Stephanie Ridolati, is here with us on the call, and I want to acknowledge her incredible efforts in putting the conference together, as well as Assistant Director Olivia Dahlquist and Elizabeth Morris, from Gender and Women's Studies. It's been an amazing team, and this is a really important presentation. So I'm really grateful that you're here. You are at the free panel, and the topic is Women Directly Impacted by Incarceration, Organizing for Housing and Systems Change. So this is a really important sort of driver of change for empowerment of women and really everybody who has been directly impacted by incarceration. I'm going to say a few things about the technology, how we can stay connected and be talking to each other, and then I'm going to turn it over to our leader and panel moderator. During the presentation, please feel free to pose questions for presenters in the Q&A, and that's located at the bottom of your screen. You'll see a little Q&A. And if you're having any technical issues, you can use the chat, also there at the bottom of your screen, a little over to the left. To just write what you need, and one of our conference administrators will answer and help you out. If you would like to have closed captioning, there will be a link posted, and you can access that by clicking on the link. You'll see the captioning come up there. It's CART. The Northwestern Court reporters are providing that service. We're also recording today's session, and we will share the videos once they've been captioned and approved by the panelists. And with that, I want to thank you again for being here. There are two more sessions today. There's one, the Women in Translation panel is going to be doing poetry and translation at 1:30, and we're wrapping up with a wonderful event, the Disability Pride Madison presentation. So please stay with us through to the end. So with that, I guess I'll mention two other things. There have been poster presentations, a live, an online sale, and some artists' presentations that you can see 24/7 through the conference, and they're not closing right away. So if you want more, go back. Some of the topics related to this panel are also there. So continue to feast at this conference. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Catoya Roberts. Catoya Roberts is an incredible leader and guide, as you will see. And she is the co-founder of FREE. And she's also the director of the Campaigns for Advancement Project. And I'm going to invite her to tell you a little more about herself and introduce the panel. And thank you so much, Catoya, for your leadership and for doing this panel.
Thank you so very much, Lori, and hello, everyone. Again, my name is Catoya Roberts. I currently am the Deputy Director of Campaigns and Strategies at the Advancement Project, national office based out in DC. I also am one of the co-founders of FREE, along with Sarah Ferber, and I have been able to work with these exciting ladies who are going to be able to speak with you all today. And it's been a pleasure watching them move from leaders to now our current organizers. So I'm just looking forward to us having this conversation. And if you have any questions, please feel free to open them, and we'll do our best to answer those questions for you. So I'm going to toss it over to Latoya first to introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. And I would just like to say thank you so much for having me. It's truly an honor to be on this panel, to be able to share with you all our experiences. My name is Latoya Greer, as you already have heard, and I am the regional organizer for the Free Campaign in Dane County. And I've been with the Free Campaign since about 2019. It started with me initially meeting some of these women through a week-long training called Gamaliel. And when I met some of these women, it went on to us building relationships and me being able to go to Intosaki, which is international training. And I was able to meet with some amazing women all across the country and just internationally all over the world. And it was just an honor to have that experience. And connected with the then organizer, Wita, of the Free Campaign, and started going back and forth to Milwaukee to meet with these amazing women and see some of the work that they were doing. But at the time, we did not have a free in Dane County until last year in 2020. And it started with me being the organizer. So now we have, you know, a similar group of amazing women here in Dane County fighting for the rights of us. And then I'll pass that to my colleague, Christal.
Hello, hi everyone. My name is Christal Arroyo Roman. My pronouns are she and her. I'm directly impacted by the justice system and currently the Free Campaign organizer for the, sorry, this little signal came up on my screen, sorry about that. As you heard, I'm the Milwaukee chapter Free Campaign organizer. I want to thank you all for having me on this panel to discuss reform for directly impacted women. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with all of you. This is an important conversation today, so I'm very grateful to be part of this discussion with all of you today. And I will pass my mic on to Nikki. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me along with everybody else here. It's an honor to be here. My name is Nicole Wallsch. Pronouns are she, her, hers. I got involved with Free around the time that it was beginning in our area. In the Chippewa Valley, I worked with Sarah, who is also the co-founder along with Catoya. And back in June, I was hired as the organizer here in Chippewa Valley. I'm a person who has been directly impacted by the justice system. So I just want to thank everyone for having me here. So do I just go on? All right.
Yeah, so thank you all for introducing yourselves. So we're gonna spend some time and, like I said, just having some dialogue and conversations about some of the work that we've been up to. And so Nikki's gonna share with us why, what is Free?
So Free is Free. Okay, let me go back to the beginning. All right, so Wisdom, which is a faith-based organization, have been working on criminal justice reform for about 20 years. They've seen a need for folks who've been impacted to be sitting at the table. You know, they always said those that are closest to the problems are closest to the solutions, but yet none of us were sitting at the tables. So they decided to do something about that and switch it. Well, when that came about, Expo, which is ex-incarcerated people organizing, was formed. Now, for about the last 10 to 20 years, the focus has been around men and incarceration. However, we know that women's incarceration rates are some of the highest in the demographics in Wisconsin and in the nation for being on the rise. So we know that women, when they're facing or have faced incarceration, when they come out, our needs tend to be uniquely different. Women usually are known as the mothers or the caretakers of the children, and and of the children and of the families. When a woman gets incarcerated and tries to get out, they have to focus around like getting a job, getting housing. Also, usually the mother is the one that is working hard to try to get their children back if they've lost their children into the system. And once you have a criminal record, that becomes something that's really hard. So in 2016, Catoya and Sarah started having those conversations, and those conversations turned into something where people who have been directly and indirectly impacted started sitting at, I'm losing my train. I get nervous. I'm sorry, guys.
You're good. You're good. You're moving along where we're going. So
yeah. So they they formed Free. So now here we are, we have 3 organizers, one in Chippewa Valley, one in Milwaukee, and one in Dane County. We also have a statewide program director and a curriculum and grant director. We hold meetings locally around the state. One in, like I said, and then we, in with those meetings, we have people women who are directly impacted sitting at the tables, and we work around what needs that they might have.
Yeah, thank you for that, Nikki. And so Latoya, do you mind sharing with us why Free is important now?
Yeah, of course. So earlier I said 2019, but I believe it was 2018 when I first started connecting with the Women of Free. And at that time, I was new to the organizing world and I didn't really know much about anything. And I was in a lot of male dominated spaces. And when it was time for me to talk about some of the struggles that I went through with incarceration, it was like, oh, hold on, nobody talks about that. Nobody wants to hear that. So one of the things that I want to recognize is that women's prisons growth has been obscured by overly broad discussions of the total prison population for way too long. We currently discuss the total population, but we never discuss the male side or the women's side. And then recent reforms have reduced the total number of people in state prisons since 2009. Almost all of the decrease has been among men, not women. The current trends clearly demonstrate the state and local policies have driven the mass incarceration of women. The number of women locked up for violations of state and local laws. So just like men who have been incarcerated for not committing another crime, women have been incarcerated for the same thing. But because we have so many conversations that are driven by males that we aren't even really getting to the root of the issues that the women are dealing with. And while men's prisons are decreasing, women's prisons are currently increasing. And while we are having all of these great reforms to decrease the population, we are leaving out that the women's populations are just not decreasing. They're rising right now. They are honestly higher than they have ever been. So the Women of Free are in a place to unite women across the state and examine state level data that impacts us all and utilize this data as a way of making the criminal, a way of leading the discussions around mass incarceration and getting in front of the making of criminal justice policy decisions. Women are the first teachers and in most cases, the sole providers and primary caretakers for their children. Prisons and jails are not service providers, but mothers provide a service for their children and families that cannot continue to be overlooked and overshadowed by the disparities in this country.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Latoya. And Christal, do you mind telling us what Free is currently working on?
Sure. Thanks, Catoya. Right now, the Free campaign has partnerships with various organizations throughout the state of Wisconsin. Some of them to just mention is ACLU of Wisconsin Smart Justice, MICA, Wisdom, and Expo, Ex Incarcerated People Organizing, which is the division of Free. We come out of Expo. However, what we do right now, things that we've currently been working on regarding those particular groups is voter engagement. We do a lot of teaching on how to, educate the public and the community with the procedures to voting, basic voting procedures. Some people just don't know, like myself coming out of prison. I didn't really know how that went and how important that was for me to get involved in a sense in that way. So we do that as well as testimony at the state budget hearings, which is something we're currently working on as well. We have Madison Action Day in the state capitol that's coming up right now that we're currently working on as well to be a voice at the Capitol and be part of the legislative process. We have directly and indirectly impacted women that will be joining us in this event. We also worked currently on the COVID crisis in the Wisconsin prisons in connection with, we had a sit-in at the governor's mansion to raise awareness for our current pandemic concerns in the Wisconsin Department of Corrections. A big focus for free is the fair housing policies for people with criminal backgrounds. We're doing a lot of base building and educating the community around the issues of fair housing for people with criminal history. We focus a lot on family reunification, keeping the family together as opposed to separating the families. That's a big focus for us, and creating that safe space to offer support where the mother and child can reunite in a meaningful way. These are some of the things that we've worked on. I myself have specifically worked on researching different housing models to create a safe home and space for women and children, to include women who have even been victims of domestic violence, to have a space and alternative for women returning home from prison, to a safe, solid, supportive space. Those are the things that we've been really focusing on, and we're a group of directly impacted supporters. So we want to be able to help that woman coming home from prison during her transition from incarceration back into the community safely and, most importantly, successfully. And I will leave it there. I'll pass the mic on. Thank you.
Thank you, Christal, for sharing all of the things that we're working on currently. So one of the things that I think is going to be important is that we learn a little bit more about the ladies who are here, but then also so for them to share their experience and how we've been able to build this workout. And so each one of them, so we'll just kind of pass it through them, but they're going to be able to answer the question around what brought you to Free. And I think we'll start with Nikki, is it?
So what brought me into Free? As I said before, I'm a person who is directly impacted by the justice system. I suffer from substance abuse disorder. This led me in and out of local jails. I ended up in the legal system. I even lost my kids into a CPS battle. I had to fight to try to get them back while being homeless, being jobless, in the middle of a nasty divorce with my husband, and I was trying to do all this while getting sober and without any support. This experience sparked something inside of me. I didn't want another woman to feel this way, but while trying to do this, I met this woman. I met Sarah, and she said, just come to a meeting, just come to one of these meetings, and it was Expo, because Free wasn't quite in our area yet, and while working with Expo, when Free started being formed, and I realized like there's this safe space for us women who have been incarcerated to be at, to share our voice and to actually learn how we can make a difference and make a change so that the next woman doesn't have to go through what I went through. I think that's kind of what brought me here,
Yeah, thank you, Christal. Latoya? And I said Christal, I mean Nikki, I'm sorry. Thank you, Nikki.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Nikki. So initially when I came to Free, I was at a state of loss before ever even finding the women of Free. And I was at a state of loss because I went through a number of traumatic situations that I was not able to put a title on what it was that I was experiencing. I had went through a number of things with my mother. I went through molestation. I went through abuse. I went through just a number of things, and I was extremely triggered. And as I stated, I was working with a lot of men who may not have understood my experiences or what it was that I was dealing with, because I didn't even understand. And I started, initially I went to Gamaliel, to Week Long, and I started to hear people share their stories. And I'm just like, oh, wow. they're doing this, like they're doing that. And I wanted to have that similar experience. I wanted to be able to do the same thing and find some type of healing through being able to share my story. So I started to connect with other people who were in the training. And as I started to connect with people, I just like wanted to ask questions. And one of the people at that time, I even reached out to Catoya and I'm like, can you help me? Can you mentor me? And at the time, she's like, I have a lot going on, and she was like, she was really doing a lot. So that wasn't something she was able to do with the work that she was doing with everything else. So I'm like, okay. So I still kept connecting with people. Catoya ended up inviting me to Intosaki. So I ended up like connecting with more women who were a part of Free and other various organizations. One of those women was Wida. And I'm just like, wow, I started like hearing these women hear like their stories and the things that they made it through. And I started to be able to put some names on some of the things that I was experiencing and dealing with. And as I was putting the names on the things that I was experiencing and dealing with, I started to build deeper bonds with these women. And as I started to build these bonds with these women, I'm like, dang, this is what I've been missing. So as I like realized what I had been missing this whole time in all these spaces with men, not really ever dealing with any of my issues, I started driving from Madison to Milwaukee to make that connection with the women who I just thought like me and understood the things that I was dealing with. I had not been in a space where we were focusing on the depth of our issues and how we could resolve those to bring ourselves back. So that just led my journey to me driving almost an hour and a half just to connect with these beautiful women.
Thank you for that, Latoya. And I do want to preference, it was like, she was like, I want you to mentor me. And I was like, let's look and see, what time and how time has come and look where we are now, right? So I really appreciate how time has transitioned and moved us into this space to be able to work with each other. And she has a beautiful 5-year-old who loves being on screen when her mommy's on screen. So she's trying to talk to her right now. But Christal, do you mind sharing with us why you're part of Free?
Sure, thank you, Catoya. What brought me to Free is, being a justice impacted woman myself. 10 years ago, when I was released, there wasn't a space for justice involved women. Unfortunately, Free just didn't exist. So my ultimate focus with directly impacted women was something that I desired to be part of. And I started to volunteer with Expo about a year ago. And during that process, I was introduced to the Free support group. And that's where I started to become familiar with what Free is about and what Free is doing. And I noticed that this group, I wish I found it 10 years ago, but I'm so grateful that it's here today. And, I saw the support, I saw the space that was sacred for women and the passion behind, issues for directly impacted people in general, but women mainly. And I thought that was just really something that was not only needed, but just kind of mind blowing to be honest, because like I said, 10 years ago when I came out, that wasn't there. And the hardships that I went through when I was released, from employment to housing to the felony background, the stigmas, those were all huge factors in my struggle. And the Free campaign support group offered me that space to see things differently and clearly and to get the support that I needed. Even though it was 10 years, later through my transition, I was still grateful to have found this space and be a part of this space. So with that being said, I ended up getting familiar with the girls, Catoya, Peggy, and Latoya, everyone on this panel, so to speak. And Catoya actually encouraged me to do canvassing. And the way she spoke about canvassing, that kind of drew an interest in me. It intrigued me because I was not a person that was really interested in that. And I'm so grateful that I took her advice and I experienced the canvassing part of this work, and it opened up an opportunity for me, and I was able to get the organizing position. But during my process as a canvasser, or experience, I should say, I learned a lot about our community, how education is important in ways, political education, most importantly, with our community, with the Brown community, the Black community, and just the community in general, outside of the directly impacted community. We just really need a space like Free to be able to ensure those confusions and those stigmas and those narratives that are against us as justice involved people. So I'm really grateful to be part of Free, and that's what brought me to Free, in all honesty. And I couldn't be more grateful to be part of this movement, to be honest. And I think I'll stop talking because I could go on and on and on. You all know me. I talk a lot. But yeah, I'll drop the mic here.
Thank you, Christal. And actually, Christal, we can start this next question with you because it actually goes into what you're just saying. How have you seen your leadership change through Free? I can say so much about all three of you, but I'd love to hear from you on how do you feel your leadership has changed, starting with you, Christal.
Okay, so yeah, again, during my volunteer process, I was able to do a leadership training through ZCI, which is also um, an organization that works with us. And when I was taught in that training to understand advocacy, understand my role as an organizer, and get the leadership skills that I needed, because like Latoya shared, all this was even foreign to me. I didn't even know that this world of advocators with so much passion really existed. You know, I always thought, kind of, I guess you could say, as a negative, that people just did things for charity cases. I didn't think there were people that were really involved who really truly cared, until I came across this group, this organization, Free, and others, like people like Catoya and Jerome, just amazing people that really push to make us feel, you know, part of this movement, and that this movement is the energy that it gives to really bring changes towards, you know, reform, areas of reform that's needed, and, you know, things in the community. So when I first started, you know, I didn't know much about it. And I really couldn't believe how genuine people were. So that had a big part on my experience. And what I learned in those groups and in these trainings is, you know, I was introduced to some skills that I didn't have necessarily. So those skills have taught me to find my voice. And, you know, those skills and those trainings, they offered me not just, you know, the training and the skill itself, it offered me empowerment, support, and encouragement, and just education on things that I didn't necessarily know were were there for me, I guess, if that makes sense. You know, it was just that in general, I feel like I've grown a lot, because like I was like a behind the scenes. The girls could tell you, like, as you see, I'm a camera off today, but I'm one of those people that just really didn't felt like I had a voice, but didn't know how to bring it out, and was afraid. Like, I was just like, I guess, afraid of the stigmas that were imposed on me, to think that my voice wouldn't be strong enough. So those types of trainings, and just being in the support with Free, and being around the women, they've given me that voice and helped me find that voice. And I feel like that has changed a lot of my leadership today, because now I'm not just canvassing anymore. I'm actually organizing. You know, we've developed leaders in the Milwaukee chapter. I have like some solid leaders. There's a lot of leadership in the Milwaukee chapter, as well as the sisterhood that we've created amongst each other. And even in all the chapters, I feel like, you know, we all have a lot of, how to say, like, we all have a force behind us. And I think that everything that I experienced with the Free campaign and the trainings has helped me to find that and build that from within myself. And in this movement, to be honest with you. And I I owe it to that to say where my leadership is today. And I'm very grateful for that. And I will stop right here. But thank you, ladies, to my sisters, Latoya. Sorry, my mic went off. But okay, we'll go on to the next one. I know we're
Thank
timed
you,
here. It's
Christal.
okay. Thank you, guys.
So next we'll go to Nikki.
So when I think about how my leadership has changed from when I was young, I had this dream that like I was going to change the world. I was going to do something big. But then life happened and my voice got overpowered and I got to a point where I didn't think my voice mattered. And by the time I was incarcerated and told while I was incarcerated that my voice doesn't matter, that I'm just an inmate, that I'm just a drug addict, that I'm just all these labels, these nasty things, I started to believe them. So when I came into Expo and Free, I didn't have any leadership skills. I didn't feel my voice mattered. And, you know, even for, you know, coming through, when I went through working with Expo and stuff, I would pull somebody aside and tell them my opinion, you know, my thoughts, because I still felt overpowered. And when free came about and us women were able to have that safe space to talk about things, my voice then started changing. And going through some of these leadership development trainings and just the transformation, going through all of this with Christal and Latoya and Catoya and everybody, my leadership skills have changed dramatically to the point where I'm able to have those conversations with people of power, even though they terrify me. I don't know, just if you would have met me even 2 years ago, even a year ago, I wouldn't be sitting here on this panel having these discussions and bringing my voice out here. So I think that it's been an amazing and wonderful experience to be able to go through this transformation along with all my sisters that are on the here with me and watch them grow as we grow together.
Thank you, Nikki and Latoya.
Yeah, thank you, Nikki and Christal. I I think we are all on this journey together for a reason. We all literally we have been through different experiences, different walks, but our walks were, you know, combined together for a reason. So I really appreciate you, um, both of y'all, all y'all. Um, so I come from an era of kids are to be seen and not heard. Um, where we sweep things under the rug. Well, you don't really deal with things. You don't talk about stuff that's happened in your house. You know what happens in your house, you keep it in the house. You don't take it outside the house. You know, I come from that type of era, and it it's not a good place to be. Um, it puts people in a space where they're not able to communicate. They aren't able to actually understand what it is that they're experiencing. And if they ask a question, then you're wrong for asking a question or even trying to get a deeper understanding of what it is that you're feeling on the inside. And being in free challenged that for me. It challenged that for me in a way to ask myself, why are you being silent? When you're silent, what does that do for somebody else? How is that helping the next person? When you silent, it sends somebody to go through exactly what it is that I went through, and it's exactly what I want to prevent. I want to stop the next woman from the anger, the hurt, and the disparities that are caused and inflicted upon our families by things that we couldn't control. Certain things were not privileged. I was not privileged enough to have in my household, like communication. Those type of things was not a privilege in my household because some things were taken from my ancestors that put us in a place where we lacked a lot of things. So my family, I can't blame them now as an adult. I understand that because I used to blame my mother for a lot. And I had to Free help me challenge that thought and blaming my mother for the things that she couldn't control, for the things that she did not have. It helped me to see that I'm an adult now and I have the ability, the capabilities to make change, to challenge the system in a way where it can be righteous, to help people to see the error in their ways, to help people to see that it's not the systems that's tearing people down, it's the people that make up these systems that tear people down in a way that they aren't able to flourish as human beings. Free helped me to be able to see myself as a woman because I didn't have that bond with my mother at the time. But I was able to get that through other women so that I can come back and build that with my mother. Free helped me to see that there can be a space for women where we can love each other and build each other up without having to tear each other down in the process, where we can all be willing to see each other grow and not be worried about who's going to surpass the next. Free helped me to be a better me, helped me to see that what I had been through was not who I am, and that who I am is who I choose to be. So Free just helped me to see myself differently.
Thank you so much for that. And the last question that we have is, what is the future for what is your future for Free? And I will start with Latoya. We'll just go back.
My future for Free, man. So in our spaces, when we meet, it's a unity, it's a bond, and it's genuine, it's sincere. It's something that's unshakable. I see that for Free. I see us being unshakable. I see us facing hurdles together, facing not just these hurdles together, but with us facing these hurdles together, we are sending a picture of what unity looks like. And as we send this picture of what unity looks like, and we bring these different collaborations across the state of Wisconsin, I see us bringing real change. I see us bringing change in policies. I see us bringing change in attitudes and characters. And by the way that we change ourselves, I'm hoping that people see us and be willing to make them same changes within themselves and realize that the issues that we depict are not always outside of us, but we all play a role in the issues that go on around us. So I see Free as being that space where not just women can come to, but a space where everybody can come to, because when women make it, we don't just think about the women, we think about everybody. So when we build on something, we bring everybody with us. So we never just say, oh, it's only going to be just the women, because the women raise, young males as well. So we always consider everybody in those spaces. So I just see as Free as being that center of unification across this state, where we fight for change together collaboratively.
Thank you for that, Latoya. And Christal.
Hi, thanks. I'm honestly gonna echo a lot off of what Latoya just shared. To be honest, my hope for Free is that, like she said, one day we're able to see substantial changes to all the issues we are advocating for on behalf of directly impacted women and their families. I hope that people in society and part of this panel discussion will have a genuine understanding while hearing our stories about our personal lived experiences and justice involved people without implicit biases, and that this discussion will not just stop here, but it will forever be part of the discussion and also part of reform, and that Free will be a resource to everyone when they think of reform, that Free will come to mind to all our viewers, to all our listeners, and most importantly, to our communities and even legislation and my dream, Department of Correction. But I'll leave it right there. So that is my hope for free. And I love being part of this movement again. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
All right.
Christal. And Nikki, and I believe we're gonna have a couple questions. So I'll like probably tag a different each one of you to answer. But Nikki.
Okay, so I had this completely planned on what I wanted to say, but then this morning I had this reading and it really spoke to me, and I feel like I need to share part of it. It says, even though I can't solve your problems, I will be there as a sounding board whenever you need me. Sandra K. Lamberson. And this is Each Day a New Beginning. It's a meditation book. Sorry. The prize we each have been given is our ability to offer full and interested attention to people seeking our counsel. And seldom does a day pass that we aren't given the opportunity to listen, to nurture, to offer hope where it's been dashed. We are not separate from one another. Interdependence is a blessing, however. We fail to recognize it at our own crucial crossroads. Alone we ponder. Around us, others too are suffering in silence. These steps that guide our lives push us to break the silence. The secrets we keep us from the health we deserve. And that's just, and then it talks a little bit more about like the pain and helping each other through the pain. And that's just it really spoke to me today. That's something I want to echo everything that Latoya and Christal said. That's something I want to see, but I also want to see a space where women are able to break that silence and be able to heal together. I want to see mom and child healing together rather than being ripped out of the home and having all that trauma reinforced, you know. I just, sorry, I had like this whole thing planned on what I was gonna say, but
You're
I don't
good.
know.
You're doing good. You're doing good.
You know, originally I would like to see where women don't have to go to jails and prisons, and we can offer help and treatment in the community. Or, you know, we can all come together. I want to break the stigma that's associated with women and incarceration, because you know how many times I was told I was a worthless mom or a bad mom because my kids were taken out of home or because I was incarcerated. I don't want to see other women have to go through that. I don't want to see other women suffer when it's something that we as a community, or we together, can be able to change that.
So as we move into some of the questions, I do want to just affirm a lot of what the lady said. Like even being here today is like exciting for myself, and then watching them grow. Like I think Nikki Maya said it first, like a year ago, I don't think I could have got any one of them to actually be like, yeah, I'll do this panel with you, right? And actually to do it and, you know, do a great job, like that wouldn't have happened. And so for me, as being, you know, in this space, this is like 4 or 5 years ago, this is what Sarah and I kind of envisioned. And so to be able to start with our organizers and really know that they're being able to pour into leaders and being able to invest into other women to actually move this work. One of the analogies that we often use is like, you know, we want to be able to stop some of these things from happening, right? Like we don't want to have to offer all of these services and resources, right? We want to get ahead of it so that when women come out, like or they probably never even make it in, right? Like what are the things that we can do to stop that? And like, what are the systems that we can change? How do we strategically build so that one day we don't have to be having these conversations in the same way? And so it's really exciting to be able to do this work with these ladies. And I'm not sure if you all noticed, but like also like one of the big things for us within Free is to be diverse, to inclusion, all of those things. And so, you know, we have organizers who come from different faith traditions, who come from different racial ethnicities and backgrounds, right? Like, so it's extremely important to us that we include that, especially in a state like Wisconsin, because when you think about incarceration, the face of it a lot of times is a Black male, right? And knowing that there are white women, Black women, Latinx women, Asian women, Native American, Indigenous women who are in this system, and how do we really make sure that we're touching that and going across all of those different borders. Another important thing, I think someone asked, how are we connected with 4W? Well, started with Molly. So Molly Clark Barrell came into this work with us again about 4 years ago, and she connected us with Lori and Olivia. And we've been able to start to build some things together and understand each other better, and actually really try to create some of the things that we've said we wanted to put in place. So I believe it's been a great relationship, and I look forward to continuing the relationship and continuing to build with them. I'm trying to see if I don't know, it'll just take a second to go through some of the other questions. I think it was one, what is the best way to direct resources and support to free and or women experiencing housing or food insecurity? Latoya and Nikki, would you want to answer that?
Yeah, so depending on the area that you are in, because we are all located in different areas. So if you want to support us on a statewide level, you can reach out. You can go to the link of that website, contact either one of us. We are all on Facebook. We all have our own separate Facebook pages for our each of our free campaigns. And you can reach out. Our director is Tamara Oman. If you would like to assist us on a statewide level, you can reach out to Tamara Oman. But if you would like to donate resources on a local level, you can reach out to either one of us, Nicole, Christal, or myself, even Catoya, to say how you would like to assist with those resources.
And I will also say, so one of the things that we have been really trying to build out as we do this work is connecting to other organizations that do the service work, because we are more on the end of like advocating, pushing for change, working with the Department of Corrections, working with HUD, working with Department of Children and Families, so that we can actually get in place some of the systems. And what we also know is that there are like laws and things on the books that counteract each other and keep things like keeping some of these cycles moving. And so that's where we see our work in order to move and change, and then also investing in folks, but also what we like places like the Demeanor Foundation, the Dominican Center here in Milwaukee, like there's different organizations that we work with to actually give the services. And so that's one of the things that we want to be like kind of a connector, convener in a sense, to be able to connect women to these services, but we technically don't offer those services. So I hope that kind of explains that. And we had 2 questions. What kinds of educational opportunities are offered to women while they're incarcerated? Are women provided any counseling or training prior to being released? And maybe a series of meetings to prepare them for their transition. Nicole, Nikki or Christal, would you want to answer that one?
I can jump on that if you want, because I did fail to mention in my discussion about our chapter meetings. We each chapter facilitates a monthly meeting, and in those meetings we offer support to both directly and indirectly impacted women in wellness and political education. So we touch on those things as far as like what the needs are in the community, what the needs are at the time. We offer support, like you said, Catoya. We don't necessarily service the women, but we are the bridge to directing them and guiding them to those necessary, sorry, not necessarily the wrong word, those organizations that can service them. So we try to be that network and that support system and that sacred space to give the women what they need in the time, whether it's housing issues, whether it's family reunification support, whatever it is, addiction. Like I said, it's wellness and political education. So we offer trainings. There's budget trainings on how to understand the legislative process. There's voting trainings. There's self-love support presentations for wellness if that's needed, healing, whatever we can offer in that time. Each month we try to provide that in our chapters, and we take a lot of consideration on what the women need as to how we conduct those monthly meetings. And if I'm not clear on something, I need my girls to help me out, if I forgot something here. But yeah, I think I covered enough. But whoever wants to jump in, at this point. Hopefully I answered your question. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I think you answered. Nikki or Latoya, do you have anything to add to that question?
Yeah, just we are working on a newsletter to put out into um those places, into prisons and into jails. I don't like saying prisons, but to give to the people who are currently incarcerated in their systems, and some other things. So if you have any ideas, please, anybody's more than welcome to come to each of our meetings. I know my next meeting for Dane County is on the 13th. And I can send out the link for that if anybody wants to come. We would definitely love your ideas. We need the support for our women across the state. That's just what I would say. If you have any ideas, please, you're more than welcome to come out to any of our meetings to bring those ideas so that we can work together.
Thank you, Latoya. And Nikki, I saw that you unmuted.
Oh, I just was part of that question about like while they're incarcerated or just after?
It was wild too.
While.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know in our local jails, they offer GED, but as far as anything outside of that, that's not offered. And then most of the state prisons do offer like up to a handful of different programming for women. But with COVID, I also don't know if any of that is going on. I know they halted like the in-person, which would be like the jail or the GED program and stuff like that in Chippewa and Eau Claire. But as far as like for resources, in Eau Claire County, we fought to get a social worker in there working as a reentry coordinator for people being released, so that they at least have like an outline or a plan of what they might want to do when they go out to help reduce the recidivism of them coming back, so that they're able to hopefully have that place to go, or at least be thinking about where, all the things that they need to think about before they're released.
Thank you for that add on. So I think we had another question. How has COVID changed the scope of your work or the issues you are addressing? So for us, this has been very interesting. So all of the women were technically hired June of last year, I believe. And so before they were hired, we were still struggling through and trying to figure out how to continue to do the work around like changing from not having in-person meetings, because like Latoya mentioned, she was driving down to Milwaukee, coming to Milwaukee, to now having like virtual meetings, and then also like connecting. I think it's been over a year and a half since all of us have been in the same space. So that's been weird, but we, made our, technology work for us the best way that we can. And so we still meet, through Zoom. And I think also one of the good things about, having technology is because Nikki's all the way in Eau Claire and I'm all the way in Milwaukee, right? Like, so that's a, long drive for us to get together, but we do miss that social interaction. And it's also been different trying to bring women into the space, right? Because the access to technology. And I think those are some of the conversations we've had, like, what does it look like to, if we need to get laptops or computers to folks so that they're or devices to people so that they're able to join in and participate in our meetings. And so trying to think outside the box and trying to figure out what it is to be safe and how can we be safe as we move forward. I think with the one thing that I can say that it didn't change our issue work, because it did, like, what it did was kind of heighten it, and for people to actually see, what happened, like what happens in general when major things happen. And so I think that like the light on incarceration, and especially women incarceration, like what does that look like now that women are going through COVID, and like, seeing the vulnerabilities of people. So I think that in that sense, it just kind of gave the urgency of like what the work we do is, why it's so important, and why we need to continue to do the work and continue and invest. So I don't think that changed for us. I don't know if either one of you would like to add to that. Nope. Okay, you guys are shaking your head. I see that there's another question around how many women are part of FREE. So we have on staff, there are 5 of you all on staff. I believe. Yeah, wait, let me, yes, there's 5 women that we have on actual staff, but each leader wise, I would say around 30 if we think about if we add up the different areas across the state. Am I moving towards the right number? Y'all are just looking at me.
I
I
think
know
that's
that
on point, Catoya, honestly. In Milwaukee chapter alone, there's at least 15 solid leadership in Milwaukee chapter. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'll say, well, like once we like with staff and every thing, and I'm not, when I say staff, I'm not including myself and Molly, but I'm thinking of our hired staff. So it's around 30 women who are active and participating in our work, and we hope to actually expand that over the next year. So in the last 4 minutes, is there any last words, Nikki, Latoya, or Christal, you would like to leave with anyone? Like 30 seconds.
I just want to thank
I
everyone for, go ahead.
this is the first. Me and Nikki never fight over the mic. Go ahead.
No, you go for it, Christal.
I just want to say I challenge each and every one of you that is viewing us today to view us with a humanitarian vision and give it your best effort to see past all the negative stigmas that society has imposed on us. That is my challenge I leave with all of you today, and to be open and mindful of what Free is doing out here in this work, and consider us when you think of reform or resource. And I leave it at that. Thank you guys again for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Christal. That was kind of part of what I was gonna say. So that's awesome that you went first, because the part that I was gonna add on to that was, that if you guys agree with us and our views and everything, that I challenge you to have those conversations in the community to help break that stigma, so that people aren't just seeing us out there, with that nasty image of what is perceived of us. And I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to be here with us. And thank you again.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Thank you, Nikki, and thank you, Christal. Like both of them, I would just challenge everybody to take a look at your own reflection. And remember that sometimes when we see things and people, it has nothing to do with the people that we see at all, but everything to do with ourselves and what we've experienced and the things that have shaped us and molded us into the people that we are. So when we look at these people who are in these systems that were made up by people, I challenge us to look at the people that we are, because we are the ones who made up that system. And thank you for having me. I appreciate this opportunity.
Also, yes, thank you all for having us. Thank you, 4W. Thank you, Lori and Stephanie. It has been a great, and Olivia, it has been a great time with you all. And we truly appreciate being offered and asked to be a part of this work. And again, if you want to get involved, please click on the link. You can touch base with all of us. We do have our emails and cell phones are available, but we do look forward to continuing this work and continuing to be a part of the change that's going to take place in Wisconsin. So thank you.
Thank you very much to all of you. I just want to say a couple of things on behalf of 4W, because we are beginning our relationship and we're so proud of your work. And I want you to feel like, you have UW-Madison in your pockets for, there's a lot of self-care kinds of things we can help with. There's arts. We have an incredible faculty circle. A few of them are on now. Dr. Sandra Dell is here, and others. I think we really want to help to amplify your voice in ways that you see fit. Also, if your members, want to pursue higher ed, we can connect people with advisors. It's kind of, think of it as full service. One is the project and the other is, you're all potential students or potential teachers here, right? So I think about that. I really love the advice about leadership. And I just sat here as a student thinking, wow, these are things I need to remember to do. And yeah, to not to not view people through lenses we've been given or stigmatized stereotypes, but just like we're all people here trying to have a meal, raise a kid, get a little sun, and maybe write a poem or whatever. So I think, that we have more in common than than we do separately. So I am really grateful. I'm grateful to Molly Clark Barrow, who's our student, a graduate student that really brought this project to us. And she's such a amazing soul, and she's always kind of everywhere and behind the scenes at the same time. And I just, I will rely on her. But the other thing I want to say is, I know because you were preparing this, you might not have gotten to see all the videos of the program, but there's a couple of them that I think you would have really loved. And so, and I can maybe write them in the chat or tell you after, but I think in particular, there was a great panel of the African American Health Network, leaders from the community. They would love your presentation. You would love theirs. I think you would really love the FemRight Art and Activism presentation from Ugandan women writers. Just so much wisdom and many more. But look at the program after the fact and treat yourself, to a T, and some wise women to listen to. So thank you so much. We look forward to more connection, and you're all amazing, and you should be so proud of the presentation and your work. And yeah, talk about reimagining and resilience and resistance. You're doing it. So thank you.